Greetings. This is The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volume 1. We haven't done this video in a while, and where we left off is somewhere far, far in the galaxy. No, I'm playing, but hopefully I still have my bookmark in here. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay, here we are. Modern views on pole shifts. In the 1930s, Edgar Cayce was channeling answers for a geologist when, in the middle of a question, Cayce stopped and said something like, there's something a little more important going on with the Earth that maybe you should know about, and started talking about how the poles on the Earth are going to shift soon. He said the year it would happen would be the winter of 1998, but things have changed since then in a physically unpredictable manner. The poles still may shift, but then again, they may do it in a way slightly different from Cayce's prediction. We do have free will, and we can change the fate of the world simply through our beings. So it's like mind force, like changing your, the fate of the world by using your mind power. Mind power is very important. I think if I already read this, then let me know. Okay, because right now I'm just like making a video. I'm at this beautiful part, so I thought I should record a little video. Okay, Edgar Cayce was an extraordinary human. He was a man people listened to when he spoke. The statement by Cayce that the poles were going to shift in the near future was almost unbelievable by most of the world, but because it was Edgar Cayce predicting this outrageous event, scientists and other interested persons began to study the possibility. Geologists would not believe his statement because they thought it would probably be hundreds of millions of years between pole shifts, that this kind of change took a very long time. But because of Cayce's prediction, certain scientists began to search anyway. A string of major pieces of evidence came forth that lent tremendous weight to what Cayce was saying. They have now changed the world's view on this subject. The scientists suspected that if there were a change in the physical poles, then there would also be a change in the magnetic poles. One of the ways they decided to study this possibility was to examine the ancient lava beds of the world. This started taking place, I believe, in the 1950s or early 60s. They wanted to study lava beds because, one, they figured there would be tremendous volcanic action if such a shift took place, and two, lava has characteristics that could verify and date previous magnetic pole shifts. So usually when a magnetic pole shift occurs, I guess, like a lot of volcanic eruptions happen. Aeroplastic flow, I think, something like that. Iron pillings and core samples. Iron pillings are found in most lava, and these pillings have a different melting point than the lava itself. The pillings harden while the lava is still flowing, and being iron, line up with the magnetic poles. Through these observations, geologists can see exactly where the magnetic poles were at the time the lava hardened. They needed to get samples from only 3 locations to be able to triangulate and know what exactly where the magnetic north poles were. The magnetic north poles was at the time the pillings hardened. Then, of course, they would radiocarbon date it, which was the best they could do back in those days. There were other approaches to this problem, which we will look at in a moment. So they discovered an early magnetic North Pole that was not where it is now, but a long way away, centered in Hawaii. The last shift took place right at the upper oval, a little less than 13,000 years ago. Then they did another test and found that the poles had shifted before that at the lower oval. This opened up a whole new era of investigations into the Earth's magnetics. The Geological Society of America published a summary of findings gathered from ocean floor core samples, Geology, 11/9, September 1983. The samples were 6 inches in diameter and 11 feet long, and researchers analyzed the sediment. They discovered that sometimes the poles simply reverse themselves. The north becomes the south, and the south becomes the north. This was another thing Edgar Cayce talked about that people had a hard time believing, but when they analyzed these core samples, they found it was true. Maybe these reincarnations, like Edgar Cayce, because he was obviously tapping into a lot of like past lives or like the ether, but say he knows because he lives these past lives, and he can basically has the experience because it changes people's magnetic pull in their minds also, because we have a magnetic compass. So say if these things are happening, some people are in tune with it, through time and space, and it's a magnetic change in the mind. Maybe people can feel it coming beforehand, or they tap in, because if you in the past through your mind, the Earth is going to be changing. You know how millions of years the tectonic tables change and the continents change and everything. So maybe it's embedded in our minds also. And Edgar Cayce was just born with, at that time, to tell everybody all these things. Okay, back to where we're going. Going back hundreds of millions of years, they discovered a cycle where the magnetic North Pole would remain in place for a long time. Then in a single day, less than 24 hours, magnetic North switched to the south. It stayed that way for a long time, then switched again, but towards the end, it's just like switching up. It's like maybe back then Earth was very unsteady, but if it all happened how God said, how he said abracadabra, then you think, like, if that all is happening in one day, then how God created the world in days, then I wouldn't be surprised if these things could happen like in a blink of an eye. So here we go. Next page. These long cycles were shortened periods where the magnetic poles would reverse themselves again. This flip happened every once in a while, and as we come closer into present times, the flips are starting to happen closer together from north to south. Closer together. Okay, I was like, what? How did I say it? Okay, excuse me. The flips are starting to happen closer together from north to south, south to north, and at the same time moving to new locations. This has happened hundreds of times over the past several 100 million years. A whole new viewpoint of Earth's magnetics, called geomagnetics, is beginning to be understood from space. Would this not appear as a pulse? As a pulse? I mean, it would be like boom, 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 or something like that. What do you guys think? I don't know, but I hope you guys can hear me. If not, then I'll probably make another video, I guess, later on, some other day. But here we go. I'm gonna read a little bit more. This is gonna be a super short, super shorty. Here we go. Pole shift triggers. By now, there have been many people trying to figure out what could cause a pole shift. What are the dynamics? What's the triggers that makes it happen? There's a book by John White, who's also an Edgar Cayce advocate, who has compiled almost all the information in the world on this subject. Though he does not mention, I believe, the particular information on the last magnetic shift being in Hawaii, his book is called Pole Shift. Of course, it's a very scientific and interesting book. If you read it, you'll get an excellent understanding of this subject, which is vast and amazing. Okay, there are two main theories right now about what the trigger could be. What the trigger could be that would cause the poles to move. One of them is obvious, and the other more subtle. The obvious one is called the Brown theory, named after huge Chinlos Brown, I butchered it, who conceived. Okay, sorry, my reading is horrible, guys, bear with me. The obvious one is called the Brown theory, named after huge Chinlos Brown, who conceived this idea. His theory is that for some reason the South Pole begins to form off center, which is exactly what's happening now. Then it builds up quite rapidly towards the end of the cycle, which is also exactly what's happening now, until one day it breaks free from the centrifugal force of the Earth's rotation. It's just like any spinning object. When something is off center, it throws the whole object off center and forces it to find a new equilibrium. And the weight of the ice keeps building and building. Eventually something's going to happen. The Earth can't keep spinning in the same rotation position. It will find a new pole that is centered. Yet there are some scientists who believe that the mass of ice at the South Pole is not enough to trigger a pole shift. Maybe these cycles of creation and humans are like, like the egg is spinning the yolk, and you spin something, and then the blob just like rips, it just bursts open. Like all the magnetic energy is like pulling the Earth, and it's like a lopsided, like it's not even a sphere actually, from what I heard. It's like a blob or something. So if it's spinning so fast, maybe that's how the Earth gets recycled, times, and people and things just like get recycled through time. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? No. But I seen some stuff, and it just makes you think, like all the fossil fuels, the oils, and all the stuff that's in the ground, like those are like peoples and things. And imagine if they're like whole civilizations and societies that just got creamed. I don't know. It's like it could happen to us. Like the Earth just swallows itself like up, and it just recycles. Who knows? But a matter of fact, okay, let's see where we're at. I got off topic. Okay. As a matter of fact, the ice at the South Pole is in some places is over 3 miles deep and building especially rapid over the last 20 years, faster than ever expected, probably because of the greenhouse effects. And today there are 3 enormous volcanoes underneath the ice cap that can be seen from our satellites. It's melting the underside of the ice cap, and huge rivers are flowing out from at beneath it at this very moment. Perhaps this fact was not centered into the equation by the doubting scientists. If the ice cap, which is twice the size of the United States, were to break free, it's been calculated that it would move towards the equator at 1,700 miles an hour to find balance, according to John White. That would obviously cause some problems here and there. Brown's theory appears to be happening, but it's not a certainty. And this book is like, shoot, it was written way back, all this stuff, way back. So, and we already know stuff has melted. I've seen videos too where a lot of things, I mean, is it real? Is it false? Is it just simulation? Who knows? Okay. However, someone has offered another theory, one which even Albert Einstein considers seriously, that holds a possible answer to the equation that unbelieving scientists have used. His name is Charles Hapgood. He and other scientists who worked with him discovered at least 2 layers of unusual rocks underneath the Earth's crust, which liquefy under certain conditions. Other scientists have demonstrated this in laboratories where they put the same kind of rock into a miniature Earth and duplicated the conditions of the inner Earth. From this experiment, they found that the surface of or crust of the Earth can slip over the main mass of the Earth, which continues its rotation as if nothing had happened. It's facts. It's a fact. It can happen, but of course we do not know if it will actually happen in real time. They don't know the scientifics of how this would work, such as what trigger could cause this slippage. Charles Hapgood wrote 2 books, Earth's Shifting Crust and The Path of the Pole, that will probably eventually change our view of our world drastically. Albert Einstein wrote the foreword to Charles Hapgood's first book, Earth Shifting Crust. I feel it's important enough to reprint here directly. Okay, let me pause, but see what they just said, that somewhere these scientists created a miniature Earth. And we also know that they created a miniature sun, so who's to say they didn't create miniature people inside this miniature Earth, wherever they created this at? And they have all the DNA of animals and everything, so they already made a miniature sun. I'd seen that a couple months ago, or a year. And right here, this book is written in the 80s, and Charles Hapgood, so where did they make this miniature Earth? They don't really say. They just say at a laboratory. So, like, who's to say it's not a simulation? They made a simulation for, it's just blowing my mind right now, because I read this book years ago, but I don't really, when you read something, you forget some stuff, and it's just like all these theories now, like miniature Earth, miniature sun. So they have the 2 rotating together, creating some kind of life. That's basically life, a sun and an Earth. And say they injected with life, like microscopic life, and it's just like, who's to say they didn't create like a whole solar system in some lab, and in a micro miniverse, like, and there's like miniature people and miniature, things going on. I don't know. Now I'm just like off topic, but I'm just thinking about all that stuff now. Just like how we know there's like, simulations and computer things, and if they made it physically, like, it's just blowing my mind. But I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys. The future is in your mind.